Welcome back to this Dialogue Web Extra. I'm Marcia Franklin. I am here with two members of Road Trip Nation, a PBS series that takes young people on journeys across the country to interview people about their passions. Mike Mariner and Ray Ricafort. Welcome. I'm also here with Angela Garcia. She's with the College Board, Executive Director of Outreach for the SATs. And the College Board is partnering with Road Trip Nation on its trip through Idaho. I wanted to take this Web Extra to take the time to talk a little bit more about the gems of wisdom that you picked up on the road trips, that you've picked up in your life, that have moved you forward. And some that stood out to me, or one that stood out to me in a major way, was that many of the people that you spoke with talked about, what are you going to give back? That it's not about, what am I going to get? Did you find that as a theme? And if so, talk a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's and one thing that's neat too is that we're seeing that being more of a theme for a lot of the students who are part of Road Trip Nation, that they're looking for deeper, richer meaning. And again, I think because our first road trip was right after September 11th, I think that it did cause people to kind of reevaluate their lives and dig a little bit deeper and think about not just what they're doing, but why they're doing it. And I think that, certainly whenever anyone digs down, it's, what are you really doing this for? Is it just a total internal approach, or are you doing it to also, contribute in some way? So we heard that a lot.
And Ray, I know you've taken that to heart as well, working with Road Trip Nation, that the focus is outward directed for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, it's if I were to look at it from a road tripper standpoint, that humbleness or that graciousness that you feel towards somebody being able to share their story with you and opening up to you and kind of giving you that wisdom when you feel or you felt in your life that opportunity wasn't given to you in your past, and to have that outpouring from somebody that you don't know and somebody that you've cold called and you've called them out of the blue and you are a stranger, and yet they're willing to offer that to you. It does something more so than just within that interview and within your life, but within the people that you meet and you come across every day, and it's almost like a skill or a gift that you're kind of given to be able to pass along.
A lot of them, I remember even the CEO of Starbucks, I think it was, and some of these high-level people, they were talking more about family, about giving back. I mean, they had made it, but they weren't talking about the trappings of success so much as what they could do with success as a result. Now, Angela, one of the other themes that I noticed in the series is that success doesn't necessarily follow a straight line or a straight path. Talk a little bit about that in your life. You were the first to go to college.
Yes.
You grew up in Kansas. You actually have an Idaho connection.
Yes, I do. I have family in Caldwell.
Yes, but you haven't seen them until now, as I understand, or recently. So there were probably lots of twists and turns before you became the executive director of outreach for SAT, one of the best-known tests in the world.
Thank you. And I would actually, harken back to a point that Ray made earlier, is at that pinpoint of light, that you get to that point and you think back to what the definitions of success. And from my family's perspective, a lot of investment went into making college an opportunity for me. I had a scholarship, but it wasn't enough. And it was such a big leap, not only just for myself, but for my family. So I have this sense of obligation, but also this sense of responsibility to pull them forward with me as well. So, now that I have this opportunity to not only influence what my family's livelihood is like and life values, is also with other students out there. So it's really very rewarding work on many, many different levels.
But you didn't start out thinking, I'm going to do this. You took,
No, I did
you went
not.
to law school for a while,
Right.
and I think that's kind of a comforting thing sometimes to know, is that you don't have to know right away.
No, you take risks and you try things, and then it opens up other opportunities. It's really just making that forward projection and always looking, to what's going to really make your heart sing.
Another thing that I noticed was many of the speakers said to figure out what gives you joy. What do you love doing? What are you happy with? Is it animals, being near children? It seemed to be another theme that, figure out what makes you happy and then position yourself near people who are doing that, or do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I think that, and it's important to look at it in those simple terms too, especially like increasingly the students we're reaching are low-income students from a variety of at-risk backgrounds who don't really have a supportive base saying, go to college or go for it, you can, and so in that case, and they also don't have a lot of role models around them, showing them lots of different pathways that exist for their future.
Well, that's true. I mean, you may not know what makes you happy if you can't get out of a 4-block area.
Right. So increasingly, Road Trip Nation exists to expand our curriculum to high schools and communities where kids don't have a lot of opportunities to explore what's possible for their future. And so in that case, it's important to really simplify it into some of those really true terms in terms of like, what are the things that interest you? We worked with a student in Fresno, in Central Valley, California, really rural, it's actually East Fresno County. And when we first asked her what she wanted to do with her future, she said, I want to work in the movie theater because that's what my mom does, is the concessions. My dad works in agriculture doing more manual labor, and I don't want to do that. But those were the two examples she had. We put her through the curriculum. The first part of the curriculum, she started identifying her interest. Her interest was animals. By the time she got to the end of the curriculum, she was building her road trip project and interviewing animal doctors on some of the farms where her dad worked. And now, 3 years later, she's majoring in pre-veterinary studies in college. And that was the moment of having that simple arc of identifying something that she's interested in and then exploring the world to see what's out there outside of her scope.
And so that curriculum exists, and you would love to have Idaho schools pick it up, right? And how can they find the curriculum?
roadtripnation.org is our online resource for it, and you just click on Adopt, and there's a guy named Jimmy who sets you up with it. But yeah, it's primarily been a California-based curriculum until now, and we just now have some of the early evaluation data that's giving us the confidence and kind of the backup to start expanding it to new regions. So Idaho, I think especially on this tour and this road trip, the event we were at today, I think this is just a great state, and we would love to find ways of bringing Road Trip Nation here.
So the curriculum would give them, say, some exercises to go through to define or figure out what their passion might be.
Right. It's a 3-part curriculum. The first 2/3 are web-based, where they explore the videos of some of the students like Ray who've been through our previous road trips and identify what their interests might be. The last third of the curriculum is all project-based learning, where they build their own local road trip projects.
Another theme that I noticed from the series was you have to work really hard. You can't expect for it to be handed to you. You need to help others, do whatever you need to, maybe even sell a car or something, and make some sacrifices. It seemed like everyone you interviewed said, look, this wasn't handed to me, right?
Yeah. I think you learn a lot about, I think growing up, a lot of the message I received, that there's almost like the question between talent and hard work. And the more I go on this road trip, or the more people we speak to and I hear about it, that hard work almost always trumps out that talent. And it's being able to take just the first baby step that's in front of you without losing focus of the bigger goal. And I think that hard work is a common thread and the common theme through every leader we've ever interviewed, and it's never rang untrue in anybody that we've interviewed.
Yeah, and there was a very interesting quote I found from one man who said, you just have to realize that there is going to be fear,
Yes.
and then any transformation is generally preceded by dread, I believe is what he said, right? I mean,
yeah, it's scary, and that's part of the whole process too, is just empowering students to take one step outside their comfort zone, because once they take that first step, then it's easier to take the second and the third and the fourth.
And another thing that I noticed was to just stay a little bit dissatisfied, like always think, okay, well, what's next?
Right, don't settle.
Don't settle. So you find that as well?
Absolutely, absolutely.
As we wrap up, anything that you would like to say to motivate young people, some piece of advice that you've come across?
I would say, work hard, persevere, look for sources of inspiration. When it gets the toughest is when you probably need the most inspiration. Your family, your teachers, everybody's out there really setting you up for success, so take that first step.
Great, wonderful. Well, thank you for joining me for this Web Extra with some additional gems of wisdom that you've learned over the years. I'm Marcia Franklin. We've been talking about Road Trip Nation. It's a PBS series that takes young people on a journey across the country to learn from leaders. How did they get where they are today? And it has a curriculum to go with it. And the group is traveling around Idaho. You can find out more about their schedule by going to our website, idahoptv.org, clicking on Dialogue. Thanks so much.